welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Quick note before we do start today's session. Today will be a fireside conversation with Steve for the first half, and we have reserved the entire latter half of the session for your questions. And so if you have any questions, make sure to send them in early in the Q&A box, and we will try to get through them, get through as many as we can. And you can also feel free to send them through throughout the event. Don't need to wait until we actually start the Q&A, as we will be taking in the top questions. Also, to note, when you're actually submitting your questions, if you would like to be spotlit or brought to the stage to ask your questions directly with your video on, just make a note in your question with like in parentheses like live question or something, so that I can call on you. Otherwise, we'll just ask your question on behalf. That works as well. Cool. So with that being said, Steve is someone who really doesn't need an intro, but I will give him one either way. So Steve Aoki is an incredible American musician, record producer, DJ, and music executive. He has collaborated with artists from Iggy Azalea to BTS to LMFAO, and he's even released his own Billboard charting albums, which were nominated for Grammy Awards. He's also founded the Aoki Foundation, which is currently supporting Mental Health Awareness Month. He's published his own memoir called Blue, The Color of Noise, and also has a Netflix documentary called I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. And most recently, you've released a new album, Neon Future 4 in 2020. Congrats, and thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is very cool. It's Harvard.
Awesome.
This is big. This is big time. The big time. I'm in Harvard with you guys. It's crazy.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's
cool.
like Harvard. Harvard is like when it comes to like schools, it's like the number one. It's like the one school. And Harvard. I applied to get into Harvard for undergrad and I got denied.
Oh, no way.
And then I applied to get into like graduate school at Harvard. I got denied. So I got denied 2 times at Harvard. And then I played at Harvard because the students like because you have like the park, like the event there was like a few years back, like 5 years back, but they like, I don't know if they vote or like how they pick the artists, but anyways, I got to play Harvard and I'm like, you guys denied me twice. But I'm right here. And like now I got in. I got into Harvard my own way, because in the traditional way, in general in life, traditionally, I always get denied.
Yeah.
That's why for me, it's like you have to chart your own way. And I got my own, I didn't get a degree, but I got on campus. I got on the campus. And now here we are back again.
Yeah, I love that. And I think actually sort of a lot of that resonates with a lot of us in terms of a lot of these sort of failures and challenges that we face early on, and being able to sort of navigate your path and sort of move forward and carve your own path. I think that's something that's super important. And with that, I want to, maybe we can go sort of chronologically and go in sort of the early life and the genesis, if you will, and talk a bit about sort of what was life like for you in high school and sort of really those early days and when sort of a lot of those experiences shaped who you are today. Like what were some of the things that really were some of those pivotal experiences that you still think of when you think back in those early days?
I was born in Miami, and my mom, when I was like 1, my mom moved to Newport Beach. Why Newport Beach? I don't know. I don't know why she picked it. I still never really got a straight answer from her from that. It's always like kind of a laugh, but it's funny because my mom's she's Japanese, as Japanese as you could possibly get. She speaks broken English. She's always, strangely enough, she's like lived in Japan, from when she was a kid to like probably like her early 20s, but she's lived in America for like, 50 years, like 50 plus years, but she's like, you cannot take the Japanese out of this woman, like her, especially her accent, like she speaks like, like there's Spanglish and then there's like, what's a version of Japanese English? Japanglish, but whatever it is. But like, she's as Japanese as you can get, and she moved to Newport Beach. And what's funny is that when she moved to Newport Beach, she picked like the wrong city because Newport Beach is 96% white, and Irvine, which is only 15 minutes away, is like dominated by Asians and like a lot of Japanese. So for like I'm being around your culture, I'm being around like, your community. She was just a little bit off on the dot. Like she's like, I don't think there. I'm like, well, if you moved like, 10 miles away, you could have been around like Japanese people who speak Japanese, and you could like have like a bigger friend group or whatever. And yeah, so anyways, we moved in Dover Shores, Newport Beach. And and like, I'll just put it this way. Newport Beach is a very beautiful place. It's a very, like, when you see it, you're like, wow, it's beaches. It's like, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's really nice. People want to move there because it's like the weather and the beach and stuff. And but like with anything, the way I see it is like, if you have too much of the same, okay, it's 96%. It doesn't matter if it's white or purple or pink, whatever, but let's just say it's white. Like the 4% that's not, it's like the amount of kind of ignorance that will brew for the 4% that are not. It's incredible, like how it happens, where it becomes so normalized that the 4%ers just, they're like, this is how life is, because that's all you really understand, right, as a kid growing up. So yes, there's like definitely racism. There's definitely like, a lot of that stuff going on growing up. And I don't want to get too deep into that wormhole, because it's deep and it's long. But one thing is, I was very fortunate in finding in that space of, just, I guess in the end, you just feel kind of like, you feel like your voice doesn't matter, for one. That's how you feel, kind of, but that's of course on me, right? So my voice isn't as important as other voices. So I don't want to speak up, because when I speak up, no one, like, I feel like no one's listening. Maybe some people there really are not listening, but like, once again, it's like in my head, like no one cares about what I think. So like, it doesn't matter what I say. I'm just not going to say anything. And like, you kind of live this very like keep your head down, don't make a scene, and just, and if people are just mean to you, you just have to fucking deal with it. Yeah. If people bully you, you have to deal with it. And that's just how life is. And like, and I just go back and be like, and my mom's just like, don't rock the boat, kind of thing. Like, just, let's keep our head down. Let's just get through this, because high school is always fucking rough. It's always like just shit. And people have no filters. And especially in a very homogenized culture, the kind of things that are said are so normalized. And but like, if you put them into context, it's like, it's just fucking not right, but one thing I found, thankfully, I found music at a very early age. And music, well, that this particular music scene, of course, like, everyone finds music, like, you hear something on the radio, you're like, oh, I love this, or you hear this. It's one thing to like hear something, you like it. It's another thing where you hear it and you're like, this is my life. Those are two different things. Like, yes, I listened to music and I was like trying to like, I love Michael Jackson's my first concert. I was like, oh yeah, this is dope. Like, I want to wear the glove and then I got into rap because I was West Coast, because I'm Newport Beach. So I love like Eazy-E and like Dr. Dre and like Snoop Dogg and all that stuff. But, it's not really my culture. And then like, I found punk and hardcore, and it was like these like similar voices. Like, these kids are like, we're not being heard, like screaming for change, kind of thing. Like, I just want to be like heard. I just want, like those kinds of, that kind of dialogue. And it was speaking to me so deeply. I'm like, this is my calling. I'm devoting my entire being to this. I finally found a space where where like other people are saying the same things and are, like, it could have been screaming punk, or it could have been like folk music. But like the fact of the matter is, they were saying behind all the music, they're saying the same things I was feeling. And I'm like, wow, I want to be a part of that. So I was so lucky to find that at like the early teenage years. So when I was a tween, I kind of found that. And then I just, boom, I just was passionately dove head in. And I think by nature of who I am, whenever I love something, the first thing I want to do is contribute. I want to be of service. Like, oh, thank you so much for like accepting me. How can I be of service? I think that's maybe something I learned from my mom, because it's like the idea of being like grateful for being in the space that you're in, right? So I want to be of service. The best way to be of service, to contribute to this little scene that I was part of, is not by showing off or not by doing this. It's more about like, how do you be of service? You do a zine about the bands that are coming through and like interview them, and go to Kinko's and like glue the little zine together and then like make little pamphlets. It's like almost a religion. Like I'm like a Jehovah's Witness going door to door, but I'm like, this is like a zine of like the culture I love. Like, let's like read it for free. I print these off at Kinko's, it's like Copy Center. And I'm like, this is my interview. These are my little poems I wrote and stuff like that. And then another way of being a service, starting a band. I see these bands and they're like very young, like me, and they're playing and touring. I'm like, wow, the barrier of entry is actually very low. If I watch Michael Jackson, I'm like, the barrier of entry to be on stage is extremely high. Like it's impossible. There's only one Michael Jackson. You can't be on that stage. There's only one Eazy-E. You can't be up there in the music videos. But like I see these punk and hardcore bands and they're like thrashing around. I'm like, I think I could do this too. So me and my friends would get together and we're like, you know what? We're all just going to exchange instruments. And that's what we did. And my friend I didn't have any instruments. So my friend had the instruments, and my mom bought me an acoustic guitar, I remember at the time, and a Tascam 4-track recorder to record music. She has spent like $400 on that. I'm like, thank you, Mom. Like, this is going to go to use. So I learned how to record music. I learned how to play guitar. I learned how to play bass. I learned how to sing. And I was just playing, rehearsing music in this garage with my friend at his house. And I just learned how to play music, and I learned how to record, and then I learned how to sing. I made my first demo playing all the instruments by the time I was 16, and I loved it. And it was like, yes, this is of service, because that's what you do when you're in this small culture. You have to create. You have to create something to offer to people. And it's not about money. There's no money, because we're playing in front of like 6 people. We never, like as a kid, you don't think about money. Money is like not in the trajectory. Right. It's more like, I just want to give, like do something, and like be part of like this whole transaction of like energy, and like that feeling of like, yo, we got this cool little thing, and no one really knows about it, but we care about it. That's all that matters. And I remember like getting a silk screen press in my mom's closet, and I was like emulsifying the ink and silkscreen t-shirts on like vintage shirts that I was getting for 50 cents and selling them for $2 and at my shows. And literally just like, that's what I did as a kid, as a teenager. I just devoted everything to that. And then obviously we went to college, and then you just sophisticate the culture a little bit more. You intellectualize it a little bit more. And that's what happened when I went to UCSB, is I started applying a lot of the stuff I was learning in school to the lyrics and to real action. And I got into the student government. I remember in UCSB, we're like, words aren't anything until it's action. So we're like, okay, they're trying to take away social studies so they can put more money into like potholes and like filling potholes up and like fixing like bike roads. I'm like, you're going to take away like fucking, like Chicano studies or something like that. Like what are the other social studies? Fuck that. So like, we all like stormed the chancellor's office, and we sat in there and like, formed our Bill of Rights and stuff. And that's powerful. The feeling was so amazing. I remember after that, I went right into like my book of poetry and shit. I have like all these lyrics and stuff. I used to be a singer in a band, and I'd be writing lyrics all charged up, passionate, and like taking like the stuff I was reading in sociology and women's studies, and like, like being able to, like play it and like record it and put it to use, and play for like the 15 people that would come see my shows, because that's how many people came to the shows. And I just love this combination of academia and music coming together and forming at that time. And that's why I went full. I just was like, fuck econ, fuck all this other stuff, because this doesn't give me the passion. I was an average student at best at the basics of econ and all this stuff. Cause my father, he's an entrepreneur, businessman, restaurateur, and became successful. I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess that's what I use school for. School is so that I can use a tool so I can become that. Right. So I did econ. There's no business in UCSB. So I was a C student at best. I'm like no good at this stuff. And then like all the other like kind of like stuff in that same space where you use the classes for, the skill set that you need to do when you get a job, all those kinds of classes. I was a B student. I was above average, a little bit above average. I was not excellent. And when I found sociology, when I found like ways to like attribute that the stuff I was learning into my passion, into my music, I was an A student. I was an excellent student. And I was at the front. I went from the back of the class to the front of the class. And then I went from the front of the class to like hanging out with the professors. And I was asking more deeper questions. And I was reading the textbooks a lot, like, with more interest and like forming groups. And then like, I was like, wow, I really have this interest in school now. Like I never liked school until now. And then you find other students like that, and professors actually talk to you like a human being on the same level when you're actually asking and having a dialogue on same topics that are actually challenging some people. Then you're like, wow, I'm heard, and like my voice matters. But you have to put the fucking work in. You can't just be spouting off like just a bunch of bullshit. You have to actually put the work in, and then like your voice does matter, but you have to like really do the work and show that you're doing the work too. That's what matters. Then your voice will matter, because at the end of the day, the informed voice is what people want to listen to. The voice that has been tried and tested is what people are more care about, instead of just something that just comes out the womb and just starts spouting stuff. It's like you need to like have like experienced certain things or like study certain things to the point where you've gone back and forth, and you're not just like going, I'm passionate about this. Listen to me. Like people are like, whoa, like where's like let's fact check some of this stuff too. So yeah, but I can keep going, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, was there at any point sort of any pullback from either friends or families? I mean, admittedly, this is sort of not your conventional path. Like, was there at any point where you started to have these questions that come up in your head, where it's like, is this the right thing? Should I continue doing this, or was the passion just so powerful that it was sort of just plow through all of those hesitations?
I mean, here's the thing, like I'm in school. Like when you're in high school and you're in college, you got to think like, what does hold you back? It's mainly your parents. Just your friends aren't really going to hold you back. You're just going to, you're going to go with what your friends generally do. I mean, that's like kind of how it works when you're a kid. What your friends do, you end up doing. So that, I guess, is a holdback, because you'll just do what they do. But your parents are, I think, you're like main holdback, right? So for me, my dad wasn't really around, and I think in general, he wants all his kids to do well on their own, without his financial support. That's his main thing. And that's why he never actually financially supported any of his kids. Like give gifts here and there. Like I got a Rolex watch when I graduated from high school. I mean, I still have it. It's a really nice watch. Um, but you know, besides that, like I didn't really get like any, there was no like weekly allowance or monthly allowance from him. He never actually did that. Um, and I actually, I'm so grateful for that. You know, I'm really grateful that he didn't have to financially support me to do what I want to do. I mean, with what I was doing in the world I was in, you like, if you show off, you're not cool. You know what I mean? Like if you like pull up in a nice car, you're not like, your friends aren't gonna be like, whoa, they're like, I mean, you're a punk hardcore kid. Like you just want to play music, really, you know, like it's like you go and like everything you do is for like the culture of what you're doing. And that culture doesn't live off that kind of thing. So at the end of the day, he couldn't really say anything to me on what I was doing. He was a bit confused when I had a women's studies, like, you know, I had like the double major thing. And he saw the women's stuff, was like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, I'm women's studies major too. And he didn't really understand that. But, you know, he's like a patriarch and he's kind of like old school. I didn't think he would understand that anyways. But then again, I was definitely not like on the track of being in the restaurant business at all, which is what he did. I was like, I'm just gonna do music and I'm gonna do academia. That's what I'm gonna do, you know. And but I am grateful him and my mom pay for my undergraduate education. So that was another financial contribution that he did for me. But he wasn't gonna pay for my grad. Because at the end of my undergrad, I was like, I want to continue with school. I was like, well, I'm on the track. I mean, with sociology and women's studies, like what generally I could think about doing is it's research. It's like you stay in academia with those degrees, or you do research in the fields that you're working in. So what best way to do it is go to grad or go get a PhD or get a master's, you know? So that's why I'm like, Harvard, come on, let me in. They're like, no, we don't want you. So I did get accepted to 2 schools, but then my parents were like, you're on your own. Yeah, you got to cover that yourself. And then I had to make a decision. Am I going to like invest fully in academia and like just take this route and like do like social work or do or like live under a lamp writing books or something, you know, like is that going to be my goal in life? Or the other thing pulling me is music. Like I mean, music is my heart and soul. Academia is like definitely charging it up, but like really the music was like, you know where to go. Like my soul was like, you know where to go. So I was like, you know what? I could always do that later. If I want to go to grad, if I don't go to graduate school and get my master's or PhD, I can do that later in life. I'm gonna see where this label will take me, because I started my label Dim Mak and then moved to LA, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna focus on my label and I'm gonna learn how to be a businessman. I'm gonna really figure this out. And then that chapter started.
And so how did you sort of, I guess, figure it out? Like, was there like a playbook that you followed? Were there mentors? Did you just sort of do like trial and error? Were there a lot of challenges in those sort of early years, and sort of how did you ultimately end up weathering those challenges and building it into the sort of success that it is today?
Yeah, there's no playbook. There's like, yes, you could get like books on music management and like all that stuff, but like I don't know like if they exist, but like what can you actually get from that you can't get if you just do it yourself? You know, like a lot of stuff you just have to, like anything, you just have to be immersed in the space. You have to know what, like, you just have to generally have like a good knowledge of everything. I did everything. I went to the pressing plants to get, you know, to get the vinyl pressed because I was making vinyl, you know, the printing houses, the distributors. I was selling it at shows, and I was selling it just like, it was like I learned every single step. And the marketing is really just another word of getting it out there, right? So like, how do you get out there when you don't have any money? You have to go to the shows. You have to be there, like like the guy like giving the flyers out in front of the clubs. Oh, I used to be that guy. Imagine little Steve Aoki in front of a club going, "Hey, come check out this Dim Mak thing." I'm, my label's called Dim Mak, and like, I got these bands or DJing, like, like it's funny. Like I was there. It's $5 to get in, and like, I was DJing I was like the first DJ because no one gives a shit about me, because it's like I'm promoting the band, right? The band on my label that's DJing, because that's what basically morphed into. I used to have bands playing in my living room. I'm like, I could do the same thing, but do it in LA and these little bars. And I want to create the culture of Dim Mak. But how do you do that? You gotta go. You gotta fucking get your hands dirty, and you gotta go in front of these other places and just promote and pass out the flyers. This is all early. This is like early 2000s. So it's like there's no social media whatsoever. MySpace didn't even exist yet, So at that time, it's like you have to do it, but flyers. You have to like be out there. You have to be in the mix. I was at every single event, party, whatnot, just promoting these parties. And that's not just like, that's just for LA scene, Dim Mak. Then I had to go back and go like, I got to talk to this distributor. I got to talk to this. And the most important thing is finding the acts that actually break. Because there's a lot of different acts that you could choose from. And then you have to pick the right act that's about to pop, and they have to trust you too. So I had to build a reputation that like people would want to sign on my label, right? And then like those artists have to break before a major label comes and scoops them up. And so when I did, the more immersed you are, the more in tune you are with the scene, that's when you need to test if you are really just a C student or A student. That's where the test is. Once you have full immersion, it's like you're reading a textbook and you're like, I have all this information now. Can I answer the questions better than everybody else on this bell curve? Can I be A student? And that's really where the test begins for me as a businessman in this case. Can I be an A student in selecting all like the right bands after all this information and knowledge I have of the space? And I did. I selected a few bands that blew up, but I had no fucking business acumen. I was like, oh my God, we just sold like 50,000 of this, like, it just was moving. Things were happening. And this is like off of no money. Like I didn't sign a big deal. It was signed for like, $100,000 or whatever it was, like pay for the recording. And then like we were like, holy shit, it's moving. I go on tour with them, and I'm like, well, they're like, yo, you have to support us, man. Like these other labels want us. I'm like, okay, fine. So I just, whatever money came in, I was just spending. I'm like, well, I have this credit card, I max it out. I have to get another credit card. Well, we got to get more support. Max out that credit card. We need more of this. I'm like, well, shit, I have to do more. Okay, fine. Max out that card. I was basically doing whatever I could because I know the competition was crazy. And I was signing these acts that actually mattered, and they were selling records. And by the end of it, I was like, holy shit. Now Dim Mak is on the map as one of the most important like incubator labels that can find acts. I had such a great A&R ear that major labels are coming to me going like, we'll do a deal with you, this, that, and the other. And I started getting cocky. I'm like, no, I got this, like that kind of thing, because I was like consistently finding acts that were doing really well. Everybody was talking about, and I had the platform in LA to actually bring them to not just DJ, but I had a space that I created where acts would come and perform. And we literally at that time, we had like Lady Gaga's first show. We had Skrillex coming through. We had LMFAO there, like will.i.am there all the time. We had Kid Cudi. Like I remember when Kid Cudi was coming all the time, Kanye West. It just became a hub of music, but it was in a small little space that we're throwing every single week. And pre-social media, you had to be there to really soak in what was happening. So all the artists want to go there. People would fly in just to be at my party. And so definitely Dim Mak was at this place where like, you want to break, you got to sign to Dim Mak, or you got to play at the Dim Mak party. That's it. You have to do that. But they didn't know, and no one knew that behind all of that, I maxed out over 10 cards. I was $100,000 in debt, and I had no way to pay it off because at the end, all the cards were maxed out. My 10th card's maxed out. I'm like, holy shit, there's no money in the account now. I literally because the way the money works is that the distributors pay you every quarter, right? And so I'm just like paying everyone oh, we got a radio promo, this promo, all this other stuff happening. And then I had to, figure out how to pay it off. I'm like, sorry, I have to wait 2 months and the interest is going up. And I'm like, I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to be stuck in this debt hole. And everyone that the public image of what we're doing looks like we're on top of the world. But I didn't have the accounting. I didn't have the logistical know-how. I didn't have, the operation side. I had none of that down, but I was doing it all because it was just me. I had one other person and it was just and then I had 13 interns, by the way. I remember I hired every intern on the block, and my apartment was, I'll tell you this, my apartment was 900 square feet. I paid $900 a month. I was paying $450 a month with my girlfriend, and there's just fucking 13 interns there every day. Working for free. Cause I was like, we don't have really the money to pay. So everyone want to work for Dim Mak. Half the time these interns were like, what are we doing here? I'm like, man, make some food or something. I don't know. It was just it was it was a fun moment, but it was chaotic, and I had no way out to get out. No way out.
Yeah.
And eventually what happened was, me DJing these parties actually became the way out, because I didn't think about me as a DJ. I never thought that me opening up the bar would actually amount to me becoming a DJ that people actually wanted to see. I did not imagine people caring to see me as a DJ. I was just the party promoter. I was just promoting Dim Mak, really. And I would get the bar tab covered, you DJ for the bar tab and just to throw the party. And then soon, so many people were coming. We're like, we got to negotiate a better deal here, guys. Okay, we'll give you $75 in the bar. Sweet. Yo, I know how many more people are coming here months later. Okay, we'll give you $200 in the bar. And then another club will come. It's like, hey, yo, will you do it over here? I'm like, well, they give me 200 in the bar. If you give me 500 in the bar, I'll throw another party. And soon I was doing that. And I'm like, well, we're crushing that party too. Hey, why don't we go over here? Then now they're offering us 1,000 in the bar. I'm like, oh my God, 3 nights a week, I'm making fucking $1,700, $2,000 from these 3 parties. And at the same time, growing my brand, not Steve Aoki, but my brand. I don't think about me. I'm just thinking about bringing people inside the room. And at that same time, while I'm growing the Dim Mak kind of ecosystem in LA, I'm a musician. I'm an artist, and I hung that hat up early on. And so I was like, well, all these bands are DJing, and now there's this fusion of indie, which is the bands I was signing, like Block Party and the Kills and the Gossip and Klaxons and all these kinds of bands like that. And the new electronic sound that was emerging, like LCD Sound System and Daft Punk was blowing up at that time. And now Justice and all these groups were it's this kind of fusion of 2 worlds were coming together. And now that was me. I'm like, let's start producing. So I started producing with my friend in 2005. He taught me how to produce. We spent 2 years remixing everything under the sun, probably 40 remixes. And I just learned how to produce with my friend. At the end of 2007, I was like, well, I definitely know how to produce now. And that's when I started producing my own music. And then at that point, I was already finally coming out of my debt hole. And I was like, well, now I could see light at the end of the tunnel because of the DJing side. And then I started making records that people cared about. And guess who were the artists that I brought on? They were the artists that were coming to my parties. will.i.am was the very first artist on my first single. He had no idea that I never released a single. He thought I was a big timer because because like our parties were so fucking popping. Like, yo, we got Aoki's parties are crazy. I'm like, Will, I got a record for you. Oh, yo, we gotta do this shit. Like, you know, go in the studio, playing the beat. He loved the beat. He started singing, I'm in the house. And then right there in the studio, right, not even the vocal booth, he's singing in his BlackBerry. And we got a mic. I'm like, yo, let's record this shit right now. Let's record this shit right now. It's like, I'm in the house, house. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a fucking hit. And I was like, oh my God. He had no idea I never released a fucking single before. Like, I mean, if he knew, he might not have done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's my friend. He's my friend, but like, you know, he doesn't, you know, he just knows that like, I'm just like the dude in LA that's just crushing these breaking artists, you know? And that record did really well for me. And then I was like, fuck, I'm going to fucking stay focused on this. It's not just fun and games, because everything before then, I was just having fun. Like, it didn't matter if it like it mattered. Like, I would just make remixes and like, I'm like, yeah, no one's going to hear this. It doesn't matter. It's just me having fun and something I can play out. But like, after that, it gave me this motivation where I'm like, wow, I got to spend more time in the studio. I got to spend more time crafting and becoming a better producer. And that's when it started changing. And then 2009, one of my biggest remixes I've ever made, still I play to this day. After me and Kid Cudi, we did this US tour together. His first US tour, the US, me, A-Track, Kid Cudi, and a couple of other artists. And he's like, hey, I have this new single. And I'd love for you to remix it. And I'm like, of course, Scott, you know, if like we became really good friends, and he would always come to Cinespace at my party, and he'd always like support me and be there with me. And it's like a song called Pursuit of Happiness. And I'm like, oh shit, you got MGMT and Rat-a-tat on there? That's so sick. I love MGMT and Rat-a-tat. You know, I'm like, how cool is that? And I heard it, and it was really slow. I'm like, Scott, we're gonna speed this up. It's gonna sound a lot faster than the original. Trust me, please trust me. I'm gonna speed it up, but I'm gonna turn it into a rave. I'm gonna turn it into a fucking banger. Just trust me. And we went back and forth, and Scott and I were really close on finishing that remix. Did like 50 versions. 50 versions.
Oh, wow.
To make it right. 50 fucking versions. Over.
That's what it takes.
And then you know, finished the remix, and we dropped it. And I remember he came to Cinespace, and I was like, yo, let's play it out, man. We're playing it out, and it's like 40 people there, 50 people there. But that's how it is, you know, like in a small room. And he's so hyped. And when the drop comes in, bah, 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 he's just like standing up there in a little DJ booth with me. He's so hyped. He starts giving out his jewelry to like all these people in front of him. Just like, I'm like, what? You fucking just giving out his jewelry to people. He's just so hyped, man. I'll never forget that moment. It was crazy.
Yeah, and we know how that song turned out. So yeah, no, it's so incredible to really to hear how a lot of these sort of really decisions that were ultimately levers pulled by pure passion and love and like you, in your own words, sort of service to community led you to sort of where you are. I want to sort of take some of these last minutes to go over some of the questions that we have. Audrey, I apologize. I know this is a live question, but we're having a bit of a technical difficulty with the Zoom call, so I won't be able to call you on stage, but I will read your question out loud. So Audrey Dilgard asks, when you say you've charted your own way, what has been the proudest moment of your career that has come out of you being honest to yourself and your own sound?
What's been the proudest moment in my career, being honest with myself and my sound? God, it's not about a moment, like it's ongoing, it's fluid. Like my life is always like, it's a culmination of all the moments. I hate to be generic like that, but it's really like the evolution, like how I'm proud of the changes that I've made in my life, the things that transform me. I am a different person than I was in college. I'm a different person than I was fucking, like last week. Like, I think the most important thing is that like, it's so important, we think about like identity and like being proud of like who we are. Who we are is always going to change. I think it's being proud to change and learn and take. I think it's so important to take what you learn and modify yourself from that. Not be stubborn and bullish to things that you're like, well, that wasn't like how I would think before. Fuck how you think before anymore. It's how you think in the future and how you can take what it is for you and optimize that, and not care what other people think and other people's definitions of what you should be. Because there's so much of that now. It's comparison to comparison of like, this is how an Asian should be. I don't want to go by what other people think I should be. I'm going to be me. No, the thing is, you could never take the Asian out of me. You could never take that from my identity or my music. Anything that bleeds out of my soul to the world will always have an Asian American identity. And it doesn't have to look a certain way or feel a certain way where like, well, that doesn't really feel very Asian. I don't give a shit what you think. I really don't care, because that's like how I am. And I am Asian American. So it's always going to come out. So I think it's like, I'm just proud of always changing and always learning and always trying to optimize. Because the thing is, as you get older, see, like when you're in school, you're always learning because you were forced to learn. You have to learn, or else you're going to have shitty grades, and you're not going to like, make it in life, whatever, in the life that school dictates. When you get older, once you get a job and you get a family, all these other things that happen, it's just like you don't need to learn. You can just like live. So I think one of the more important lessons that I always tell people is it's so easy to live, with cruise control. You need to constantly challenge the passive living lifestyle. You need to live deliberately. Think about the things that you're doing, learn constantly, question yourself all the time. Don't be fixated on what people think you should do, and just do what feels from here, because who you are will always be part of what you do.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think especially for a lot of the sort of the delegates that do come to this conference, there's and personally as well, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people, there's this sort of path that people have sort of charted for you, and there's definitely this sort of pressure to comply and to sort of turn the windows down and say, okay, like I'm just going to do what people tell me to do. And so I think it's super powerful when you put it in your own words in terms of
when you do what people tell you to do, it's you live that life of expectation. It's right. Not disruptive.
Yeah.
I love disruption. A good disruption, not a bad one, a good one. A one that makes you stop in your track and go, holy shit, I never thought like that before. That made me think. I want disruption like that in my life all the time. And people that do that to me, I want to work with. I want to know. I want to learn from. I don't care if you're 20 years younger than me. You're going to share something with me that I didn't experience and know. I want to hear what you have to say, what you're doing. I mean, that's why I love, like, at the end of the day, like, that's why I still run my label. I love finding new artists that like stop me in my tracks and make me think, like, I never thought about music that way. I never thought about like how they're dressing or how they're looking or how they present themselves in a way. I'm like, that's fucking cool. Never thought about that. And they're fucking young, whatever. Like, it's like you learn from all people. I think another thing too is that we have to like humble ourselves from all the experiences and wisdom that we've gained, and allow ourselves to be open, because like as you get older, the elders go like, we learned everything, we're done learning, you have to learn from us. I don't think like that. I'm like, I want to learn all the time, I want to experience all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think we all just remember that. You might be like the straight A student, be like, well, no one else could teach me anything, I know everything. Like, fuck that shit. You have a lot more to learn, man. So, and I still have a lot more.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, totally. But Bargavi and a few other people, Andrea as well. They want to know, what was it like? And this is a bit of a more of a looser and funny question. What was it like collaborating with BTS?
Well, these guys are, first of all, they're funny dudes. They're like, you think like because it's BTS, they're like biggest band in the world. They're like, they could be uptight, they could be like reserved, but no, man, like every interaction I have with them, it's like once we're like, hey, what's up, boom, it's like we're like colliding. It's like the energy is so good. We're like jumping, dancing, like I remember like I was kicking one guy and like he's like showing me like what they do, like when they're like hanging out, like he's like kicking my ass, I'm kicking him. We're sharing the clothes. I gave him my jacket, he gave me his like, his jacket, like it's just like they're fun people. They're like really fun to hang out with. The energy is so like positive and just really, really amazing guys. So when you start off there, the collaboration can only go up, so that's after I met them and we like had such a great connection. That's when it was like, okay, went to Korea, met with the whole production team, and then I did the remix for Mic Drop, and then like that did so well, and they're like, oh, we got to keep it going, we got to keep this going. And then I brought them the Truth Untold record, produced that for them, and flipped it up. I was like, we gotta do something completely different than Mic Drop. Let's do a ballad. Let's make sure like you're just singing, like everyone can hear your voice the way everyone loves BTS. So I'm really happy that's like a fan favorite. It's not like a single, but it's a fan favorite. And then then they jumped on. Then they featured on my album, which is a big deal. It's a huge deal because they don't feature on anyone's music. So they came in, did the first like all English song, which was a big deal at that time. So I had to make a bigger deal with it. Not a bigger deal, but like, I had to compliment the big deal about that, and make sure it was an all Asian cast with an Asian director, and like, follow suit to Crazy Rich Asians. Love what Crazy Rich Asians is at the time. So I'm like, we gotta keep the Asian spirit alive, to hit up all my Asian homies to come in. And I was like, we need a good Asian director, and Johan from Linkin Park, he was down to do it, and we made a really killer music video. You guys got to check it out.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think a lot of us are huge fans of what came out of all of those collaborations. And I guess, is there like a sort of, as a follow-up, is there a sense or like a pulse in the current industry that there's more of these type of I mean, with groups like 88 Rising coming up as well, are there more of these sort of Asian focused collaborations or sort of interest that we can see moving forward into the future?
That I'm going to be doing
with you, with the rest of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I have some plans to start an Asian label. I've not
has this been announced yet?
No, I don't think so. So
this is all super early access information, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it takes time, like I started Dim Mak and Fuego as an entirely all Latin label. That took about a year to build, because you need a whole team around it, and it's doing really well with our artists. So I work with already a few K-pop artists. So I've worked with, Lei Zhang from EXO. We did a record together. Obviously, BTS, Monsta X, Ace. Um, you know, just a couple other artists out there, and I have others that I'm working with as well. I don't want to announce yet because I like to
Totally. Yeah.
probably introduce it when it's time. But and J-pop artists too. Um, I really want to get J-pop artists out there. K-pop doesn't need help,
Yeah.
but J-pop just never broke out of Japan. So
Mm.
I'm Japanese, so I want to really kind of grow that culture out of the country. And also C-pop, China pop, I just love like what Asia has to offer the world. And K-pop has really built that bridge, a nice, healthy bridge ecosystem for now the world to be interested in all Asia pop. So so I mean, there's definitely going to be some exciting stuff in the horizon. Just just stay in tune, stay plugged in, just to stay plugged into my social media, man. Keep you updated. And I have some really great merch drop collaborations with a lot of anime IPs. So we did Naruto. Both were killer. I did 2 Naruto drops. We just did Inuyasha, which just came out. Awesome collaboration with Inuyasha. Powerpuff Girls is American. I know it's not Asian, but we just did that. I did well. We have more really cool anime IP collaborations that'll be coming out through Dim Mak. So check it out, dimmakcollection.com. If you love anime culture, if you're an anime geek like me, you'll love all the anime drops we're doing. And you want to get it in. You want to get these tees and the hoodies like quick because they sell out after the weekend. Like we literally sell out and boom, we're done. So you got to get it in quick, guys.
Awesome. And I guess sort of to round this up, Gail, Megan, and a few others have asked sort of, I guess, sort of advice both for aspiring creative students, entrepreneurs, college students, or people who really want to sort of carve their own path, whether that's in the creative industry or not. Any sort of last word of advice you would give to people?
Last word of advice. I think the best advice I can give people right now, and I think people lack a lot of, is patience. Because people expect things so fast, because of how fast we're moving with technology, how our brains work. Our brains becoming more ADD because of social media, TikTok, everything else that's out there. It's like keeping us engaged and entertained at all times. And the comparison culture of like, wow, they're like, she or he's my age and like he's doing this and like I got this and like what about me? Like I need to do this quick. Nothing happens quick that will last. Tell you that much. If it's too quick, it's unlikely to last. And if it happens to be quick, know that it's quick. Know that it's a shit coin. Know that's gonna go up and go down quick. You know what I mean? But I like BTC. I'd rather invest my money in BTC than a shitcoin. I might have some fun in shitcoin. You might dabble. We don't put like everything in that because you want to move things fast. You could be that one guy that like goes crazy and gets early with GameStop or GME or whatnot, or Shiba or fucking Doge. You could be that guy, but by the time, like you said, you could be, you're in too late. So I think the most important thing is like the patience game is the most powerful game. And I mean, if you're in Harvard, you have so much like not just like the education, but you have like the connections with so many people. Like treat them right and treat them with like the healthy respect and sustainability. It's like you want to build health and sustainability in all things you do. You build it for the long term, that's it. The patience game is the most powerful. And then, yeah, have fun, dabble in other stuff. But, like any business manager would tell you, you don't have your triangle chart of where you put your money. You don't put private equity in the bottom part, you know, you don't want all your money in P. Sometimes I kind of do that because I'm crazy, but like, I don't recommend people put all their money in private equity. You know what I mean? Like,
this is not a financial advice seminar.
I'm just saying, like, you gotta like just follow your parents. Listen to your parents, like when it comes to like long-term strategy, because generally parents are like patient, kids are like, I need it now. It's a now culture.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, you could be that guy, but only if you make it. It's most likely not you, like, so just like, you could be, I mean, you're in Harvard, you might be you might have the early startup, the next Facebook, the next whatnot, like whatever it is. So yeah, you want to do that, but you just want to be patient in general, I think. And then it's patience and then dabble.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for sharing that. I think for one, I'm definitely very guilty of being impatient with a lot of things. So I think it definitely resonates.
Kidding? Like how much clickbait is on the shit coins?
Yeah, it's
crazy. Just like what's happening. You're like, oh fuck. I mean, if you're gonna dabble in speculative volatile industry, get in early. Get in early before the hype. If the hype has already started, you're already late.
Yeah.
That's simple. Everybody already knows that. I think everybody knows that, but they don't hear it enough.
Right.
Because all the messaging you hear is it's now. When they say now, it's late.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's still early. If it's long-term and patient.
Yeah.
But you have to see if it's sustainable. If it's now, and you want it to be sustainable, you have to make sure that the thing you're putting your money in, you see it has a sustainable future.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion, NFTs are the future. They were going like this. It's correcting, but it will find a place where it will go back up, and it'll go down a little bit, and it'll go back up, but it's not going anywhere. I think everything will have a utility that's connected to some smart contract. It's just
you've released you've released your own NFT, right? Not too long ago.
Yeah. I'm doing well with NFTs. I was early. I did really well with my first collection. And then my second collection, we sold out. We did well. And then I did a 101 that did really well, the Jenny Dow. I'm invested in the space, and I really believe that we will all be utilizing NFTs in one form or fashion, whether it's $100 NFT, whether it's $1,000 or $1 million NFT. It's going to be an all scale usage that is going to be connected to things that we do that have an applied smart contract attached to it, designating the ownership.
Yeah, totally. I think we can certainly spend many more hours just talking about the excitement behind the technology. But I do want to also be cognizant of folks' time as well as your time. I know you're touring how many you're running how many concerts this year? Like 250 or something?
That was pre-COVID. I think this year, if I just do the weekends, which is what it's looking like, which is nice. I like to have these weekdays off now because I'm used to it now. I'm only doing the weekends. If I say I do two weekends a show, which is looking like that for the rest of the year, then I'd be like what is it, 30 more weeks? So I mean, I'm only going to do maybe like 60 shows this year. But if I do a tour again, see if I do like a bus tour, then we're knocking out like 40 to 60 shows. If I do Europe again, festival season, we're doing like 30 in a month. If it's back to where it was, But I don't think so for until next year. It's weekends I'm fine with. I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome, and that's sort of the grind that it takes when with the passion that you have, which is really really awesome and super inspiring. But yeah, with that being said, want to again really thank you, Steve, as well as
I'm
thanks
back.
to
I'm in Harvard. I'm speaking at a Harvard University. This is Harvard University, correct?
this is Harvard University. Yes.
Is this okay? Just want to make sure. Looks like it'd be like he could be like he thinks he's speaking at a Harvard thing, but he's not. But I'm speaking at a Harvard University, talking to Harvard students. I didn't even get into the fucking school. Okay, they rejected me twice. I'm speaking to Harvard University students. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I can't believe that. I'm speaking at a Harvard University thing, and I didn't even get in Harvard. I love it.
Yeah. It's the sort of irony with where most people who succeed, ultimately either drop out or are never in in the first place. So definitely joining that club. And if anything, Harvard definitely missed that early bet on you. And so
can I do a story right now, or is it like you can't announce this?
We can, yeah, I mean, we if we have time for a story. I mean, it's all I just don't want to take up most of your time is all.
Can I do a story? It's gonna go up my
yeah, totally.
All right, guys, I want to tell you something right now. I attempted to get into Harvard. What is it called when you send in a thing for Harvard? What's that called?
Apply.
Applied. That's right. Okay, guys, I got a little story to tell you. When I was trying to get to undergraduate school, I applied to get into Harvard University, and of course, at that time, not of course, but like they rejected me. And then after I graduated from undergrad, I did well. I came up and I applied again to get into graduate school at Harvard, rejected again. But right now, I'm talking to a Harvard University panel. The students at Harvard. I got in. I'm speaking to Harvard University students about, Steve Aoki stuff. And they didn't even get me in. And now I'm in. I'm talking to the students. Can you believe that? It's crazy shit. Oh my God. Okay.
Everyone follows Steve now. Awesome.
I'm watching my story right now, just making sure it looks good, make sure it's all good. You gotta watch it.
Make sure the hair looks good. Make sure.
Here we go. Hold on, let me see if I can start.
I came up and I applied again to get into graduate school at Harvard, rejected again. But right now,
here we go. Let me see. Take a look.
To a Harvard University.
My dirty ass desk.
Okay, guys, I got a little story to tell you. And I'm talking to the students. Can you believe that?
All right.
When I was in,
I'm gonna post this up right now.
I applied to get into Harvard.
I'm gonna post this up. Should I tag Harvard so they see like they didn't get me in?
Of course, but like
yeah, you should do it for the
Harvard.
Story to tell you. When I was in
Harvard, I'm tagging Harvard. You better tell Harvard.
We will tell them. We'll make it known.
Of course, but like they rejected me.
I just tagged Harvard. Oh my God. Oh, life's so
okay.
fun.
Awesome.
Okay, well, all right. Thank you.
Thank you so much again. I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people that the stories that you shared were super inspiring and empowering. And if ever we do host another blockchain related event, you're the first person we're inviting.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Everyone, can I tell you about some coin to get? Okay. Can I say that?
Sure. Go ahead.
Jenny coin, guys. Jenny coin. Jenny DAO. Decentralized This is how you it's fractionalized. It's a decentralized coin where it's all about fractionalizing NFTs. So making you could buy into like more expensive NFTs. Jenny coin. I'm in on Jenny. That's the only one I'll talk
Awesome.
about.
Hopefully we could get sponsored by Jenny next time.
Yeah, for sure. All
okay,
right.
cool. Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much, Steve. Thanks everyone for being a part of this. And yeah, best of luck with all the future endeavors, and super excited to see some of the future collaborations that come out.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.